I'm like trying to make this video. I'm trying to like talk and make the video, but I think I'm going to talk about my most recent dream that involves someone that's deceased. So this most recent experience, it was a woman, a young woman. She was about 23 years old and she was planning her wedding. She was like doing like a very American like wedding. And she was like picking things out and planning, and it was like a happy time. I was there like hovering like a drone, like the way a drone would be in the air. That's kind of how I was in this dream. And this is how I was in some of the parts where I had an experience where I met someone that was deceased for the first time I met her after she had died. There's this hovering thing that happens. This most recent one, this young lady, she's planning her wedding and she was excited about it. She was happy. And it looks like she was near the water. And I think it was ocean water. It looked like ocean water. I mean, that's like, for large bodies of water, that's what I'm most familiar with because of the way the currents looked. Like it could have been like a Great Lake or something, but I would just describe it as like, ocean water. And she was like in this place and she ended up in this other area. It was like this sort of platform of some sort that was floating in the water. And then she looked over to this other area and it just seemed like she could swim there. But it didn't look like a swimming area. Like it didn't look like, from what I could tell, I think she thought that it would be an easier swim, like an easy swim, that she could just go over there. But it was actually quite dangerous. And I think that's how she died. And it was accidental. Like her death was accidental. So she had blonde hair, and it was like straight blonde hair, and it was like about like here, I want to say. That information in the dream, it came through my teacher in the dream. Like I was there with my teacher, and then my teacher actually started doing things in the dream that were very memorable to me. I think maybe it was like to make me remember, like for some reason for me to remember the dream. His movement and stuff, like it was different. And then he got near me, and another, like someone else's voice came through him, and it sounded kind of like, that's how like the dream started. And it was like he got near me, and the voice sounded like, I think it was her voice. And it was because after that part, like it went to her, the thing I just, like what I just described with like her playing the wedding and the water and all that. So when he got near me, like really close, it sounded almost like it's like when you tune into a radio and it's like not very clear, but it is kind of clear. It kind of had that sort of sound to it, or it like sounded like if a person was like in like at the end of like a long tube, like through a long tube, and they're speaking through it, and someone's on the other side listening to it. Like that's what it sort of sounded like. And so it was very clear in the dream, like, whoa, like something different's happening here. I don't remember if it was coming through his mouth or his ear, but it wasn't him speaking. It was like someone was coming through him. So I told him about it. I was like, so like what's, this, what I dreamt, like, so is she dead? And he said, yes. I'm like, okay. And then I had this other dream as well. This was like a while back, like several months ago. And I think the people in that dream were also deceased. And my teacher was there in the dream. And he was there, but it wasn't like this, like where they were speaking through him, but he was present. And I think they were males in their, I think, 20s and 30s, I think, like in that age range. And they were like outdoors type, like they were doing something. And I think it was in the desert. I'm not completely sure about that dream, about that. But so there's that one that I'm sort of like wanting to know more about. Yeah, and so my teacher's like, yeah, so we should meditate. So I told him, like, so like how do I communicate? Like, how does this work exactly? And he's like, you're not scared? I'm like, well, no, I guess I'm not. I mean, I think I would have been scared maybe not long ago, but for whatever reason, it's not, the experiences aren't scary, you know? And he explained to me, like, he said, sometimes there are people that are in limbo. He says they're neither here nor there. They're sort of stuck in a sort of in between. And he said, sometimes they're not, it's, you know, there's something that may be troubling, and that's why they're in that situation. So I think in this case, like with the young lady, it was an accident, her death. I think it was a drowning. I didn't see her drown, but the way it was being told to me, it appeared as though that's what decision she took. She thought she could swim, you know, from where she was to this other area, but she miscalculated like how dangerous that was, and unfortunately she drowned. And then in this other situation with these males, I think it was also an accident. I don't really know much about that one. So I told him, like, so how do I like communicate? Like, how does this work? You know, when I've seen what I think I'm seeing in certain dreams, reflecting on it and realizing, like, wait, like they may be deceased. I said, so then, like, what do they have to do with me? And he said, well, he describes like a firefly. He's like, there's like, you know, fireflies, and they, like, when they fly, they have this little light. And so sometimes people are drawn to certain people because that person may be able to sense them or detect them or communicate, something along those lines. I'm like, okay. And so I told him, like, just recently I was like, so I think that, like, I'm gonna figure it out somehow. I told him, I'm like, how do I, you gonna give me a tip or what? So we're gonna start meditating like together. It's been like a while since we've like meditated together. Not too long. Now with this situation, and he asked me, he's like, are you scared? Because sometimes people are not in the best of circumstances, you know, when they're in limbo. For some reason I feel like I'm not scared anymore. Like, I think maybe not long ago I would be scared, and I'm not anymore. And the experiences have not been scary. They haven't like scared me. Like, realizing that, like, this last one in particular is pretty clear that she's deceased. With the 4 males, I'm not sure exactly, but it's probably like some sort of accident that happened. And so my thing is, like, I told my teacher, I'm like, I can only detect them when I'm asleep, you know, like when I sleep, and, you know, in the dream world, there's like so much that can be shown, you know, like so many things, like you can be placed in, like you can see, it's like watching like what's happening, and that form of communication is very different. I'm like, so I can't detect them with that when I'm awake. And he was like, not yet. So I'm like, well, I'm definitely interested. Like, I'd like to see. And I think that if I'm sort of detecting them, because, you know, they're not bound by time, and so it's not like they're like in a waiting room, you know, like waiting for me to figure it out. Like, so I just feel like eventually, like at some point, I'm going to be able to communicate. It's kind of how I feel, and I feel drawn to that. So I'll see like what, you know, what's going on. I'm going to do some meditations. I think like in a couple of days I'll do a meditation with my teacher and just kind of see and learn from him, you know, like some things, and take it from there. Yeah, anyway, so just wanted to share that because it is something that's in the dream world. It's something that people may encounter, and it's something that one should consider. And, you know, just being aware that there are different realms and there are different like people or, you know, in different realms and there are different situations when going into things like astral projection and, you know, having out of body experiences, that may be something that one might encounter, to perhaps think about that and think about if that's what you want to do. I think maybe the only, I don't know, I guess explaining like why it doesn't seem scary, I think, is because I've had positive experiences. Like the communication has been pretty like it's not like you know, like some scary movie or something, you know. It's been pretty intense, very interesting. Like when my teacher started moving differently, like he actually, like he was defying gravity in the dream. He like turned and flipped and he was like, it was very interesting. But it made it very memorable, the dream. So I was able to remember it when I woke up because of that. And also it was showing that there was someone coming through him. So that was really neat. And okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. So good night.